Hi friends, your pal Scott, and today we're going to talk about American cinema. And today I want to talk about something really special in the movie One Battle After Another. So I saw this. I was highly impressed with this film. I thought it was it enjoyable? That's a tough question. It was definitely compelling and thought provoking, and I even think I think it was enjoyable, but I don't think it was entertaining. And so you're like, but a lot. Well, actually, that's a good point. Not a lot of people saw this. It didn't even break 40 million. It's the first movie in a long time not to break 40 million for I think it's Warner Brothers. They've had a streak of number one. Every single movie they released has hit number one for 8 movies in a row. They have a powerful streak going. But this one broke the streak because they had all made more than $40 million before this on opening weekend, and this didn't. Not a lot of people went to see this. One reason why is this is a difficult watch. It really it embraced some extremely dark subjects, and so if it's not entertainment, why go see it? Well, here we go. It's the world's it's it's a movie's ability to show us a part of our own world that otherwise we cannot see. Fiction gives a license. Fiction gives some permissioning that is found almost nowhere else. Almost nowhere else. Okay. So what did this movie show me that I was frankly a little shocked to see exactly how it worked? And that was, what is the life of the undocumented immigrant at scale? So this movie showed you exactly what's happening with undocumented immigrants in America and how this has been going on for decades, and exactly what's happening and how this works. Because, right now, Donald Trump is in, and so, and he won on a closed borders platform. Now, I did vote for Donald Trump, but I do disagree with him on this. I actually support more open borders, and undocumented immigrants is not something that I'm passionate to stop. And I will tell you, I'm an evangelical Christian. I know a lot of conservatives, and this is a major point for them. And all over the world, governments are losing elections because they're keeping their borders open, right? But the reason why, so Scott, if you're an evangelical Christian and you voted for a conservative president, why aren't you down with this? Well, I love America, and I totally get why others do too. And I also kind of like you're like, oh, I don't like you being here in my country. People are like, I don't like you being here in my country. I'm like, I love that you're here in my country. You know why? Because nothing says my country beats yours better than you risking everything to get here, right? Like, yeah, America rocks and your country sucks, right? If there's an immigration flow from your countries to ours, your country sucks, my country rocks, right? And I don't care where you're coming from, and I love that America's number one. I love that people will die to get here, right? I don't like that they have to die to do it. I like the idea that there's almost no limit. Our country is so great, there's no limit to the risks people will take to get here. I get that, and I kind of love that, and I kind of already am rooting for anybody who's going to take the risk to get here, right? Which is, I get it. It's complicated, but this movie but one battle after another. I didn't really know how undocumented immigrants did this, and what was brilliant about One Battle After Another was they didn't sit down and say, "Let me explain how this is done." They showed it through the Benicio del Toro character. Okay, so he has a dojo, right? I think he's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? And he's a sensei, and he has students, and then they come up and they learn from him, and he's respected in the undocumented immigrant community, right? And so they showed how this happens, right? People just come across the border, and then and then in these sanctuary cities, there are communities of of people who actually came from that country and have been here for years, right? And many of them get documented, and then they aid people who are undocumented, and they showed this in the film. They buy entire buildings, right? That way, they own the entrance and the exit, and they can and then they pack that place. They pack it with bodies, right? In America, oh, does your kid have their own bedroom? You know, like here, everybody in the building was sleeping like they were lining them up, right? You know, like you had, 4 feet across for your bed and 7 feet, right? And then there was 6 inches of displacement between, and they would just line them up, right? So they just pack bodies into these spaces, right? And so these undocumented immigrants don't live with the luxury that you and I live. They are sacrificing everything to get here. And honestly, I have respect for that. And I know I'm on the outs for this. Like, within the evangelical Christian community, there's a lot of like, don't like, there's not a lot of support for undocumented immigrants. And also in the conservative community, there's almost none, right? And it's interesting because I did vote for Trump, but I will say, you're like, well, why did you vote for Trump? Well, because I really felt it was really critical that we had a leader who could listen to a sentence and then speak a sentence back. And the Democrats had said, no, that's not important to us. You don't deserve basic communication as a prerequisite for your leader. I'm like, what? I don't like that, right? I'm like, and it was and the Democrats are really paying for that now, because you're like, at the end, it couldn't be hidden that Biden lacked basic communication skills, right? Like, just listen to a sentence, think about that sentence, respond with thought, with a sentence that was in context of the sentence. That's basic communication. He didn't have it, right? And this was rock solid clear at the end, right? But the problem is, I had that conversation at the beginning, right? In 2020, I was like, he's not ready. This ain't gonna work. And I remember this very nice blue left, lady was like, oh no, it's gonna be fine. He's good. It's, lies. It was all lies, right? And a lot of people like me are like, we brought this up, man. We told you this was gonna be a problem. And they looked at us like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, we got gaslit, right? Like, and so that's what. So I was like, hey, there's only two candidates that matter in this. I want a candidate that can actually speak sentences, right? So, and I think that's fair. I think that's a completely fair request, right? That your politician has basic communication skills, right? And so, but I do realize this is making the world difficult for undocumented immigrants now at this point. But I love the way this movie showed exactly what this looks like, and showed what a loving community looks like, where they are genuinely sharing space, like very literally sharing space, and figuratively sharing space, like Clinton. I never voted for her. She was like, you need a village. They showed exactly how these people live like a village, and all of this care is being extended to each member of this, and their whole desire is to get people here, get them living here, and get dreamers, right? Like, dreamers is another part of it, right? Where it's harder, if you're born here, as it stands right now, that's different, and so, and I just love the very extremely tactical, extremely practical illustration of how these communities actually live, what a sanctuary city is, right? A sanctuary city is a city that knows it has tens of thousands of undocumented immigrants that have been living there for years, and not just people who are of that specific ethnicity or coming from that specific country. What you really see is you have this situation where, so you have all of that happening, but in these sanctuary cities, you have thousands of allies. People are like, we don't care that you're not here legally, right? What we care about is that you're a human being and that you have needs. That's pretty fascinating. I was really fascinated by this film, and I have to say, like, if you want to attach goodwill to a community, it's hard to think of a better way to do that than attach Benicio del Toro as an example of what an ally to undocumented immigrants is. He was so cool in this movie. He was the coolest thing in this movie by far. Calm, grounded, focused on breathing, just like, and also dangerous, right? Just a dangerous man. Very, very cool film. Very, very cool visual depiction of how undocumented immigrants actually live in America, what that actually means, space by space, activity by activity, ally by ally, and also, you know, it is the pinnacle of show don't tell, right? Like, it's, you know, this isn't a documentary. This is like a powerful narrative showing this thing that is very much happening in our country. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.